Hi, Lisa May. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute everybody. We have 32 people here so far.
Morning.
Good morning, Simi. How are you? Oh, I just muted you, sorry. Okay. Okie dokie, so here we are. It's already June and we're holding the center of, what are we holding? We're holding space for grounding into the earth energies and being stable pillars of creativity and positivity in these kind of dark times. And we're going to go into painting seascapes today. So I'm going to go ahead and get my demos up for you. We're going to go right into it. Okay. So
Carissa,
yeah.
don't forget to record the session.
Yeah, thank you, Chloe. I am recording it.
Woo!
So yeah, thanks for the reminder. Okay, so I did a scene looking down on Hendry's from the Wilcox property, otherwise known as looking down on Arroyo Burro from the Douglas Family Preserve. So you can see, and by the way, the ocean horizon is actually level. The paper kind of curled when I photographed it, so it looks like it's not even, but in actuality it is. And you do always want to use a straight edge to draw that line, because you can see how, how precise it is and how level with the horizon. So what I want you to notice in looking at the difference between the photograph and the painting is how much I simplified and just kind of did away with a lot of the detail. This is really the best approach for landscape painting. You want to bring things down to their essence. So just kind of take that in, and then I'm going to play the video. Let's see, I think I have two. Whoops. I've got to get the music turned down, I think. It's not going to do that. Okay. Sorry, the music's going to be playing in the background. Hopefully you can hear me okay. But always have good tunes on when you're painting in the studio. Yeah, see, I should be able to turn this volume down, but because one time I was able to do that. But anyway, it's not happening today. So I have my drawing all in. Can you guys hear me okay talking over the music? Is that all right? Okay. And I always start with the ocean. I just feel, I don't know why that makes sense to me, but when I'm painting a seascape, I always put in the ocean first. And, here I'm mixing up my cobalt and my ultramarine again, which I'm just finding a good color for the sky, and I'm mixing in a little bit of phthalo blue, which is more of a turquoisey color. It's a little more, there's the phthalo right there. You can see it's a cooler blue, and I'm mixing it in. When I go back to do the sky, I'll use that ultramarine cobalt. The ocean is always a darker reflection of the sky. And so I want to get a nice, good amount of color, saturation, and I'm testing it there on the paper. You want it to be fairly dark. The ocean is deep and dark. And I'm going to just start by laying in some bands of color. When we go back and I can show you the picture of the ocean, this is kind of how it was. It was kind of a windy day, so there was a lot of little wavy kind of lines in the water. So
is this wet on dry?
This is wet on dry, yeah. And if you feel that you don't have enough time to add your other colors into it, you can wet the whole thing first. But in doing this, it enables you to get a little better texture, because if you do it all on wet, it's going to all merge together and you're going to have super soft edges. I want to have a little bit of retention of the edges of the brush stroke. So you have to kind of have a plan in mind and go right to it and work pretty efficiently. Now, when I'm coming down closer to the shore, the color changes a little bit. It's a little kind of muddier. Now, I made a mistake. I had put an iridescent sky blue in the little tray in the upper right, but for some reason I spaced it out, and I dipped into my iridescent more green color, and I did that instead, and I didn't realize it afterwards. You can see the painting kind of next to the video. You can kind of see the iridescent quality. It's really nice to have some iridescent colors when you're doing ocean, because it does have a sparkly quality. So, the darker paint that I put in is still damp enough that I can merge this in with it, but you can see how it's kind of holding its own shape.
Marissa, what brush are you using?
I'm just using my number 8 round, which is my go-to brush. It gives me, and it's a sable brush, so it holds a lot of paint and water. I like it because it allows me to put down a pretty large area of color, but also to have good control and get more of a fine point if I want. So I'm just dropping in my iridescent color.
Did you sketch this at all?
Yes, it's very hard to see, and it's a very faint pencil line, but all the shapes that are painted are all drawn out. I don't draw any of the detail within the shapes, like within the water or within the bushes, but the water shape is painted out, and then the white of the wave is painted out, and the beach is painted out, and then each tree and bush, drawn out. Each bush and paint is drawn out. So I don't know why. Really apologize for the sound. That's why I usually wear my headphones, and I guess I'll have to do that in the future. I thought I could get away with not doing that. I won't let this happen again, you guys, especially with the ads. It's obnoxious. I do like KCRW. Does anyone listen to that station? It's a good one. I'm dropping in a little bit of kind of a muddied down alizarin crimson, because it does get darker along the edge, and a little more phthalo blue. So now I'm going back in, and I'm going to drop some more color into it. And You know, you don't want to overdo it though, but I'm wanting to get a little more variety in there. And you can see how I'm using up my puddle of color, right? I had that nice big puddle mixed up, but I used most of it up. Now I'm getting my bigger brush. This is more like a number 12, I think. Not sure what I'm going to do here. This is the cobalt blue. I don't know if I'm getting ready to do the sky. I don't think I would be doing the sky yet because I need to let the ocean dry. Is that the end of the video? No. I need to let the ocean dry before I paint the sky because otherwise I won't have that crisp hard edge where the ocean meets the sky. Maybe I'm going to add more blue to the ocean. I forgot. I did this painting last week or a couple weeks ago. Testing out my colors. You always want to have your test paper. I am going to do the sky. Okay. And so what happened here was, at this point, I'm still not aware that I had dipped into my turquoisey iridescent. See, it's good for you guys to see me make mistakes and how to remedy them. And you'll see how I correct this, because this cobalt with a little ultramarine blue is not the same hue as the ocean, and I'm going to have to change that. So you'll see what I do. Now, you know, I could have probably done the whole sky under the tree, but I'm opting instead. I showed that last time, how you can just paint the sky, and then if you're painting dark trees, or not last time, but the first time with the garden painting, I did the whole sky and then painted my palm trees on top of it. This time I'm painting the sky in between the branches. I don't really want that blue underneath it. And also I'm going with a little bit of a darker sky color. And when you do that, you know, it's a little trickier to paint over it without having it interfere. And what I'm doing is I'm gradually adding a little more water to the paint as I drop down, because I want to do a blend from dark to light. I want it to get lighter down at the horizon. And actually, when you look at the horizon, actually it usually gets lighter as you move up, right? Is that right? I think it does, but for visual sake, it doesn't matter. I want the contrast of the light horizon. I guess the sky can change. There's no rules about that. But the important thing with this also, you know, it's really important when you're doing large areas of wash like this to keep the brush moving, because you have to keep it wet. I got a little bit of the wrong color in there somehow on my brush, so I just blotted it up with a paper towel, going around the branches. Sometimes I take dance breaks. You know, you can hear the nice beat in the background. And I like to get up when I finish an area and let it dry and take a little dance break and get into your body and really get into the, you know, celebratory mode. I don't do this in class because I play classical music and I try to keep it serene, but we're breaking all the rules here. So I'll just throw that out there. If you're in the privacy of your home, if you want to get up and do a dance break, go for it. And you'll notice in the composition, the branch goes all the way across the page, from one side to the other, and it really makes it pop into the foreground that way. So you can see, I'm still, so there I decided just to go with the water. I decided not to dip back into the paint. There's a little bit of pigment on my brush, and I'm just kind of moving that down by adding the water. And the ocean was dry enough, and I did a light touch that the edges could meet and they didn't blur. And then I painted around the jut of land that kind of comes out there. I'm dropping a little, I want it to be a little darker. So now that I've got my shapes established, I can just drop some more pigment into that. And you'll see in a moment, I'm gonna realize, I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna go, these two blues aren't really jiving. You know, the sky is a warm blue and the ocean is a cool blue, and you'll see what I do. I'm gonna, or maybe that's what I'm doing now. What I did was I took a little bit of the phthalo blue, which is the cooler blue. It has a little bit of green in it. And I'm dropping it in to try to kind of get the hues a little more in alignment, and it worked.
Carissa, could you say that again, what you used to correct that?
I put in a little bit, I dropped in a little bit of phthalo blue into my sky, which had been a mix of the cobalt and the ultramarine, because the cobalt and the ultramarine mix makes a warm blue, and the phthalo is a cool blue, and I needed to cool it down to kind of harmonize with the ocean a little bit.
Thank you so much.
So here I'm starting, and this is what you want to do, you guys. You want to kind of bounce around your page and work different areas. I'm putting in some yellows into this bush, which you can see right next to the painting here. You can see where these yellows are.
So the sky is a cool blue or a warm blue?
Which one?
The sky is a cool blue or a warm blue?
Well, I started out with a warm and I added a little bit of cool.
Okay.
So I think it's a little more kind of a neutral blue.
Oh.
It's neither cool nor warm. It's kind of.
Generally, the ocean is cool blue?
The ocean is a cool blue.
Okay, thank you.
Because what makes it cool, the blues and the greens and the purples are the cool colors. And the warm colors, think fire. The warm colors are red and orange and yellow, like fire is hot. Ice is cold, ice is blue. And then I mixed up some brown. I think I had, I'm not sure, I think I had like a burnt sienna, and I added a little bit of alizarin to it. So what I'm doing here, how I get the texture of these bushes is by, and this kind of is similar to the patterny Klimt idea that I shared the first class, but I'm just dropping in little, and I'm using a fairly small brush for this. I think it's a 4 or even a 2. And I'm just putting in little areas of color. And again, when I go in and paint, I'm gonna go to a bigger brush here. I'm dipping into the phthalo and my alizarin. So kind of a blue form, so I'm making a brown. I'm using all 3 primary colors. I did the blue, the alizarin crimson, and the golden yellow. And I made a really, actually more like a black, a really dark, since the phthalo, I used the phthalo, that made it more of a black neutral instead of a brown neutral. If you want a brown neutral, you would make it more red. And if you want more of a black gray, you make it more cool. And you do want the bushes to be dark on the bottom like this because it grounds them into the earth. And just the way the light hits them, they're always darker at the bottom. So you can see how I'm putting all these dark brush strokes in the bottom of the bushes.
Carissa, can you move the video further to the right?
Sure. How's that? Can you see it now?
That's much better.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, let me know because I don't know. I think it appears differently on your screen than how I see it. So do speak up and let me know stuff like that. Now I'm doing some green, you know, and I wasn't paying attention just now, but I always mix up my greens. You see, I don't have any, I don't think I even own any tubes of green. I always mix up my greens with blues and yellows. And I'm dropping this in. Some of it's going into the wet paint. Some of it's going into the dry. And I'll use a couple of different greens. You can see in the bushes, I have a darker blue green and a lighter yellow green. And I'm working those two bushes simultaneously. They're the same kind of plant. I think they might be the native coastal sunflowers. I'm not sure, but I think that's what they are.
That's amazing that you always mix your own greens.
Yeah, well, that's what makes them natural and alive. It's really important. I can't stress, I mean, you guys, the students who have been with me for a long time know that I harp on greens constantly, constantly trying to get you to really make a lot of greens. So now I'm doing my yellow green. And that's mostly going to go on top because the plant growth is lighter on the top and also, you know, because that's where the light is hitting. But some of it's dropping in and blending with the darker color.
So Carissa,
Yeah.
it's Lorinda. Just a quick question to clarify on cool blues versus warm blues. Would a warm blue be a blue plus red because red is warm?
Yep. Yep.
And a cool, so that goes towards the purples. Those are the warm blues.
Right.
But the blue plus yellow or the greener blues would be the cool ones.
Exactly. And if you look at my ocean, you can see the difference. Can you see the difference between the more turquoisey green side of the blue? How that's cool.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you can see the sky is, I mean, it's hard to stretch that into purple, but
no, I can see it. I just didn't understand the terminology.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So Carissa, this is Laura. As you're adding these yellow greens, is everything else dry?
Some of it's dry and some of it's still wet. So some of the shapes that are down are holding their own, and some of them are merging.
Okay, thanks.
It makes it look more natural when you paint this way. And you know, it seems tedious, but like I've only been doing this for maybe 5 minutes, you know, and it's covered a pretty large amount of the paper. And you just have to kind of relax. I mean, hopefully it's an enjoyable, like I enjoy this process, but just a reminder that there are millions of ways of approaching this process. And I'm just showing you my treatment of it. And I want you to take what resonates and what you find enjoyable and what's going to work for you. And then do away with anything. Like if this feels too tedious for you and you just want to do a big wide brush stroke with a fat brush across the bush, with one sweep of yellow, green, and one sweep of, you know, a darker color or whatever, and then drop some orange into it. Like, just do what you intuit to be the most expressive and desirable for you. But I will say, you know, with landscape painting, once you get into selling with landscapes, people do like precision because, you know, a fair amount of precision. Like, you can look at this and kind of identify where it is. And we local Santa Barbarans love our local nature spots. And so that's why my landscapes always sell. This is almost done, you guys. There's just a couple minutes left. Okay, so here I am. Look, that's still wet. Here I am. I'm dropping in the cool because it was too warm of a sky. Like, suddenly I saw this and it's like, wow, I gotta make this sky match up with the water better. So I'm gonna drop in some phthalo blue and cool it down. And you can see how it's changing it from warm to cool. And luckily, but even if this was dry, you could do another coat of the phthalo on top of it. But it's even better that it's still wet and that I can just kind of mix it on the page. You know, there's a couple ways of mixing your colors. You can mix it in the palette or you can mix it on the page. And there's a couple ways of mixing it on the page. You can mix it on the page by layering on top of it. Since watercolor is transparent, the bottom color will come through. Or you can mix it while it's still wet, which is what I'm doing here. But you can see how this is changing the heat. It's cooling it down and it's going to make it more in sync with the water, the ocean color. And then this video is going to end right after this. And then there's another short one that I have to show, I think, some more of the trees or something the beach or something.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how you got those, that little white edge of the water.
Yeah,
there.
that is really tricky to do the foam of the waves. And so this is where iridescent paint is going to work for you. I used some iridescent, so it's this strip right over here, right? I used some iridescent blue and I dropped in a little bit of, looks like alizarin or some kind of purple, and then just lots of water. You want to use the white of the paper for your whites, and this is basically a white with a little bit of tone. But I think the iridescent works well. Okay, so I'm done with that one. And then let's get this one up. Okay. Good. I think I have my headphones on. So I went on and did some painting on this. I put in the path. I laid in the shadows, which you had seen. Wait, what's going on? Oh, I have to play this one. Sorry. There, see, if I press play first, then I can turn the volume down. That's how it works. Okay, got the music off for this one. So I had gone in and I did some more of the vegetation along the path, and I put the path in by mixing up some of the golden yellow and some of my muddied alizarin to make it kind of a muted rust color. And then my shadow color is kind of a purpley a neutral purple color. And I think I'm going for the beach here. So we talked about periwinkle last time. If you look at this is the wet sand. There's the foam of the white, there's this lavender of the wet sand, and then there's the gold of the dry sand. So I really simplify the beach and the water and the waves. And the wet sand is actually a blend from kind of a warm lavender to a cool lavender. And I'm using my periwinkle and some cadmium turquoise and some alizarin crimson, and I mixed up kind of and this is what I was talking about with those jacarandas last week that somebody had that needed some of the cool purple in, because can you see the difference between the warm purple and the cool purple? The warm purple is more like a red violet-y range, and then the blue one is more of a blue violet-y. But if you do a blend within your simplified shape, then it's going to add interest and realism to the piece. So I'm doing my warm purple along the edge of the wave. And I had already painted the beach, the dry sand in there, and you can see that's another blend of kind of a burnt sienna color with a gold, blending to gold and lighter where it meets the cliff. So now, while it's still wet, I'm going to drop in my blue violet and create that blend. And this is the periwinkle mixed in with other colors. I usually do, sometimes I use straight tube color, but like 90% of the time I mix my colors. There's just 2 minutes left of this video, so hopefully you're not getting too bored.
Where did you use your iridescent you talked about earlier?
I used it in the ocean. If you
In
look
the
at
waves? In the white part of the waves?
Yeah, I used it in the white part of the waves, but I also used it in the body of the ocean. And you can see it especially along the horizon line. Can you see kind of the sparkly effect of that, Lee?
Not really, but I can kind of see it in the the white waves. Yeah.
Okay. Now look at this. I'm using the same blend of colors that are in the wet part of the beach into that landmass in the distance. And as I mentioned on Monday, whenever hills are in the distance, they kind of read as this lavendery purple color. So I just darkened it a little bit, and it's got a little iridescent in there. I'm not sure. Yeah, I just dipped into I think I dipped into the iridescent turquoise and a little bit of the phthalo to make a darker edge along. See, every shape is kind of a blend. Like there's not really too many flat areas. There's always a mix of colors, right?
Carissa, I have a question about iridescent.
Okay.
Is that a paint that you buy, or is that just a visual effect that you're creating?
It's a paint that you buy. Yeah, and I'll give you the specifics when we get off of this, and I can grab my paints out. So now I'm doing the cliffside, and I'm putting in kind of that reddish brown along the base. And I'm using the goldeny, and see, my colors are getting nice and mixed on my palette, so I've got some nice earthy natural colors to work with, but yet it's not so muddy and mucky that it's all like canceled out. I know some people like having the flat open palettes where all the colors mix together, but I really feel it's important to have a clean look, to keep your colors separate. Okay, so we're done with that. And rather than get out of stop share, what I want to do is move right into showing some of the student pieces that I have. But before we move on, I just want to see if anybody, while these are up, and I can get the finished painting up again, I want to see if anybody has any more questions about this painting before we move on. No? We're good.
I asked a question about iridescent.
Yeah. So the iridescent.
Is that something you want to take up later?
Well, I can just tell you really briefly that you can order iridescent colors, and I think several different brands make them. These particular ones I have are from Daniel Smith, and they're called duochrome. That's their line of iridescent. Some of them are called, some of them are called pearlescent. These are called duochrome. I have duochrome emerald and duochrome aquamarine. So the greeny one is the emerald and the bluish one is aquamarine. And then I have a duochrome cabo blue, which is more of a, the aquamarine is kind of a turquoisey, and the cabo blue is more like a cobalt blue. They tend not to come, you can get a pearlescent purple. They tend not to come in the warm colors, like in the reds. Although I do see that line in the acrylic inks, but not so much with the watercolors. Yeah, so does that answer your question, Kurt?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions about this?
I just want to say you certainly captured the picture and improved upon it. It's beautiful.
Well, that's the idea. That's what we want. That's what we hope to do, is take a photograph and, idealize it or
beautiful.
Enhance it so that it's better than the photograph. That's what
I think I have that exact photograph, having stood on that same spot.
Yeah.
But I really love how you simplified it. I mean, for me, that's very appealing. And
it has a nice effect, and it makes it easier, really. I mean, it just makes more sense to kind of, you can see too here with the vegetation on the hillside, I put that in. The earth was still the earth color was still a little bit damp, so they merged a little bit. But yeah, just simplifying that, but within that, I have a couple of different greens, because you see a couple of different greens in there. So you want to simplify it, but you want to do blends, and what you can do is kind of squint your eyes, can help you see where the darks are and where the blends need to happen. Like if you squint your eyes and you look at this beach, you can see how it gets darker where it meets the wet water, like I did here. So, yeah. Okay.
Carissa, one more question about the white foamy water.
Okay.
Did you put paint on and then take paint off?
No, I just painted it on. I had a large puddle of water with a little bit of iridescent, and then I added some of that kind of warm, kind of I think it looks to me like I mixed a lavender with some alizarin crimson in there, or maybe some, even some, what do I have here? Oh, maybe some quinacridone. No, I don't think I have that. Anyway, some kind of a rosy color.
Such a pretty texture.
Thanks. Yeah.
How did you figure out how to do the shadow of the tree on the path? Or was
By
that,
looking at
was that
the,
in your picture that we're not seeing in the picture you're
I'm
showing?
gonna try to get it on here. Hold on. Yeah, can you see the shadow in the photograph?
Yes.
I just went off of that.
I like yours better.
Thanks. Yeah, I simplified it. I didn't, this is very intricate in the photo, and I just simplified it, you know? And also, I made the shadow merge into the vegetation. Do you see how I did that? Instead of having a distinct edge, because it does, when it goes back into this deep shadow, kind of hard to distinguish. Yeah, so just simplify, simplify, simplify. My whole approach to landscape painting is to simplify the shape and exaggerate the color. That's my approach.
Carissa,
Yeah.
with that shadow, it looks so soft at the edges, as if the brown or the dirt part was still a little wet.
Yep.
Is that what happened?
It was. Yep. Still damp, not really wet, but damp.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys. Okay. So let's see, while I'm here, let me get these other images from Kurt and Simi. And let me just see if there's any in the other.
And this is Meredith. I'm just reminding you that we didn't get to mine last time.
Yeah, you're at the top.
Oh,
You are at the top, and then we're gonna do
yeah.
Dennis because he has to leave. So.
And I sent, and Chris, I sent you one this morning on your desktop, I think.
Yep.
Lynn.
Yep. Actually, if you don't mind, Meredith, I'm gonna do Dennis first because he has to leave at 10.
Yeah, I'm not leaving today.
Okay.
No problem.
All right. So Dennis has 3 paintings here. In the future, Dennis, if you could send me a little bit of a larger file, then it wouldn't be so blurry like this.
Okay, I was worried that they weren't getting through when I was doing the larger.
You know what? For some reason, I think before, did you send them to my pipeline or my personal email?
I think I tried both.
Okay, well, maybe that was the issue. If you could get them kind of in between, maybe.
I think the first time I tried it was on a Saturday with the larger, more detailed.
Okay, well, maybe somewhere in the middle, like not a huge file, but not a tiny file. Okay, so do you want to tell us about this piece?
This is up just off of Highway 154, the San Marcos Hills Reserve area. And what I was really working on here was the big sky. And I started with that and then worked down.
Okay, great. Yeah, you did a nice job on the sky. I would probably want to have more colors in there besides just the black and white. I think I see a little bit of a warm color in here, but I would have liked to have seen some more color in the clouds. If you look at clouds, even the ones that look really white, there's actually quite a bit of color in there. Maybe you do have some color. Did you put some color into your cloud?
Put a little bit in. And then I have some of the blue sky down below.
Yeah, I can see that. I would probably have worked in some of the blue and some of the yellow and maybe even some red. I mean, very faintly, so that it wouldn't even register mentally, but it's there.
Mhm.
Because if you notice clouds, start paying attention to clouds, and you'll see that there is actually some color in there, even the ones that look really white. The fence is a very strong graphic visual. And yeah, I think it's a nice painting. Does anyone have any comments on this one?
I really like the way that you did the values, especially what watercolors tend to kind of make things the same value. You use just very different values, and it just
Yeah.
really pops on, I think.
Yeah, really good contrast.
Thanks.
The clouds are great.
Yeah, the clouds really are great.
That's kind of new venture for me to do dramatic skies. And I used a Kleenex.
That's what it is.
Pull
It's
out
very dramatic.
in that center section.
We hike there all the time and we love it. It's beautiful, that picture.
Yeah, I love the golden too in the fields. It really feels like the valley. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Molly. I'm attracted to the little red patch on the left.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering if it on the right or someplace else would sort of even it out. I don't know. But I love the sky and I love the fields, and I live close by, and it really feels very homey, very beautiful.
Mm. Nice. Okay, and then here, this one's fantastic. I just wish we had better files. It's super pixelated.
Oh yeah, it's pretty blurry.
Yeah, this is fantastic though. Maybe
Wow.
this is really impressive, Dennis.
Beautiful.
Is it the Museum of Natural History in their Woodlands area?
Nice. Did you do this on site?
Gorgeous.
And it was kind of the process of working with the light and the different colored leaves was a learning thing. I started on the right side, and I didn't like it nearly as much as what I ended up evolving into on the kind of upper left corner. It just was much more punchy in terms of the light and the transparency and the variation of colors in there.
Fantastic. It's just so crisp and precise. And
I'm also very impressed with the three-dimensionality of it. The depth is incredible.
yeah, he's got that deep, dark forest green going back, and then all the contrast on the bark on the trees really, I mean, it's so clear. But yet it's not photographic. It still has a painterly quality, which is nice.
Trees are so fun because you can put anything into them and they work.
Well, maybe for you. I don't know if I could say that.
Dennis, this is Alan. Did you use any Frisket?
No, I've never used it. I don't know anything about it.
It looks great. The whole thing looks great.
Yeah, it's a really good one. And here's some Queen of the Wildflower, Matillahas.
This was inspired from Monday. Somebody showed some on Monday. And
yes,
for the first time we've had a plant that grew up in our garden of Matillaha. We've been trying for a few years, and finally we got good growth and just tons of buds this year. And some of them are like 8 feet tall.
Wow.
Wow.
So anyway, I got inspired to do that.
Good. It's beautiful. I like the blend from, notice how he has the blend from dark to light going at the top. And so the white at the top kind of, mirrors the white of the flowers on the bottom, which is kind of an interesting composition. Again, I think you could actually add your whites. Your whites tend to be a little You could make them a little more exciting by adding just a little bit more hint of color. I see a tiny bit in here, but you could push that a little bit more.
Uh-huh.
Is there a wash under any of that white or no?
No.
Okay.
Okay, good job. Dennis is prolific.
It's fun.
Produces a lot. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you for squeezing me in early.
Sure.
Sorry,
So here's Meredith. So Meredith, you guys, she's working with acrylics. And she does these acrylic pours, which are really exciting. And is this a pour that you manipulated, Meredith?
It is, and it's more silvery than the picture just couldn't.
Yeah, yeah. The photograph often doesn't capture the iridescence.
But it is that it's a fluid acrylic paint that I manipulated.
And you're trying to decide whether it needs a center of attention, right?
Right, and it may be hard to know, but because it's more silvery in real life, it does have some, sort of sparkle to it. But
okay.
Yeah, but
so I want to get feedback from the group. Do you guys think this is complete in itself, or do you think she needs to add another element?
I
No,
think
I
it's
love it.
complete.
I think it's complete.
Okay.
It's complete. What would
Okay.
anything you would add would take away just from the presence of it. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Okay.
Does that help? That's an easy solution.
I'm waiting for the dissenting voices. It just,
Well, it's like an abstract photograph, which I really love. It's just getting really close up to that bark. And
yeah, exactly.
Right, and I forgot to mention, and I am going to try doing some of the more precise thinking that you're teaching, Carissa, but I tend to do abstract. So
that's fine. That's fine. Go for it.
Meredith, I wanted to say that if you divided it into sections, distinct parts, each part is so interesting. If you wanted to look at it that way too. As a whole, it's all together, but it's just fascinating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask real quick, are you not using any paint brushes when you say pour? I don't know what that means. But.
So I'm mixing acrylic paint with Floetrol. It's instead of water, which sort of makes the paint thinner. And I use a palette knife.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, I can use a brush. I do sometimes, but mostly a palette knife.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Pretty.
And this is an older piece I did, meaning like months ago as opposed to weeks ago. But yeah, and I would be happy with feedback on this as well. It where to go with it. The background is either trees or mountainy area, but I had been thinking more trees. Forest.
Like tree, looks like forest, leaves on the ground in a forest. I would
Right.
say.
It had a foresty. And again, the colors are not exactly what are depicted here. I don't seem to be able to capture that.
Does anybody have any?
There's one spot on the left. I'd like to see just a little bit of something in.
I'm sorry, say that again.
There's one spot on the left that I'd just like to see a tiny bit of the flowers in.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm thinking if the colors of the flowers could be amplified, like the redders be redder, deeper.
Good.
I like it like it is. I don't think you should touch it.
Fantastic.
Well, I'll touch it a little then. No, I'm just.
Too.
I appreciate it. I like bringing pictures that are not quite done for feedback. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree that it looks pretty complete, but also that if you really wanted to do some more, you could just bring out some of those orange tones a little bit.
Okay.
It also looks a little bit like it could be like a cliffside, like at Devil's Post Pile.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how I read it. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter. Each viewer gets to interpret it how they want.
Right.
You know, that's the nice thing.
I see it like a forest in a fairy tale, you know, a fall day with that is sort of gloomy and you want to know what's going to happen there.
Good. I have to write a story around it then. No, but thank you.
A
It's
little
beautiful.
fairy magic.
Thank you. Okay.
Gorgeous.
I'm just seeing if there's any more. Yeah. See, they always keep coming in during class.
Marissa, who did the bridge last week?
Who did the bridge last week, you guys? I don't remember. I can't remember who did the bridge. Okay, so Mary, remember this was in progress on Monday and she completed it. She brought the tree over to the edge.
Yeah.
And I think she did that really successfully because now it really looks like the light is coming from the left. The sky is lighter over here and it gets darker. And then, so that's kind of nice. And this all gets darker as it goes from left to right. And now the windows, the geometric shapes are kind of interesting elements. She did a nice job with the clay tile roof. And yeah. Does anybody have any comments on this for Mary?
Very
It's
sweet.
very
Maybe you need
whimsical.
some
I could see it in a
shadows.
children's book.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's fun. I love how she did the fruit. And isn't that cute?
Yeah.
The oranges. I mean, it's just really fun. It does look like it could be in a children's illustration.
It does.
Was there another comment that someone was saying shadows or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think it needs some shadows.
Where would you put the shadows?
Under the tree.
Down here where the tree meets the grass?
And the potted plant. It just
Potted
looks like
plants.
it's sitting there.
Yeah, so you could ground this a little bit, Mary. I'm not seeing you. Let me see if I can find you. Here you are. If you put like a little bit of a light, wash down here of dark, like you could get some of this color that you have in the bushes and just lay in a little bit of a wash where the trees are meeting the ground and where the pot's meeting the ground, it will kind of anchor them in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but how would I do that with the colors? Do I do the green or do I mix up some?
You want to mix up a neutral color like these bushes. Can you see my cursor pointing to these bushes? So this is a pretty neutral color, dark. I would mix and then it would be like consistent with your palette. I would get some of this color again.
Okay.
And just with your brush, just put in a little bit, you know, doesn't have to be much, but just where the tree meets the ground and where the pot meets the ground,
okay.
You put a little bit in. We'll see, there will probably be a painting that comes along later that I can point out to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Another thing that might be really fun, I think it's really fun, especially on a painting like this. What about putting a little kitty cat in the window?
Yeah, that would be fun.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to add to the storyline, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Put like even a flower pot and a kitty over here or something and you could even put like a person over here if you wanted to. But it's nice to have something inside the windows because then we can be like the voyeur, you know, looking in on this scene and the family.
Well, it is a really charming setup. So a kitty would be really cute. I mean,
Yeah.
It's got that kind of look.
It does have that kind of look. I think it would add to it. So maybe
look, yeah.
Maybe because of that.
add a little kitty to your.
Sounds good. We'll do it.
That's not hard or anything to put a cat in.
No, not at all.
I love the pottery. I love the rippled pot It's just beautiful.
Yeah, she did a nice job on that.
Yeah.
Okay, I've forgotten whose this is. I know you just sent it to me yesterday, but I forgot who this is. This
It's
Lynn?
Diana. It's
Oh,
Diana.
Diana, that's right. And this is your loquat tree on your property that you don't really like or something.
Well, I just used the loquat for the branches of the tree, but that's not exactly what the loquat leaves look like.
Okay. And then you put some hills in the background.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure if I was that happy with the hills.
I like the hills.
Yeah, I think the hills are working. Yeah.
They have texture.
Yeah, you have some interesting textures going on. I'm curious how you are applying your paint.
For the tree or the hills or
Well, mostly the tree is what I'm looking at. You've got these it almost looks like you printed the greens on with your thumb or something, but I know you didn't. Is
well,
that all done with a brush?
yes.
Okay, it's interesting.
Well, when I did the tree, I kind of outlined it first, and then I put a bunch of different colors in it, some blacks and browns, and I put in some dark purple and a little bit of red and gold. And then it was just kind of all sitting there, and I wasn't really happy with how it was looking. So then after it was all completely dry, I just took my wet brush and I just started brushing strokes through all of the branches, and that wound up blending the colors. So I actually liked how the bark wound up looking a whole lot better after I did that.
Good. I'm glad you figured that out. Yeah, and the tree really fills up the entire upper half of the painting nicely, and she's got a nice mix of colors. Look at these little surprise colors of lavender and orange. Well, I guess those are the loquats, but she's got some nice little surprises in here, and a lot of different colors. That's what we want to see. Great job.
I like her hill on the left side.
Yeah, that was with the yeah.
And the green reminds me of a pretty stained glass, like just the upper part of the tree, if you just focused on that, like a really pretty stained glass window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, and then here's Lynn's tree. Can we just take a really short bathroom break, and we'll come back and talk about this interesting painting. I'll be right back.
Is this when we're supposed to dance?
Yeah, well, you need the music on to have your dance party, but you can do that if you want.
Have a partner.
Okay, are you there, Lynn?
Just left.
Okay.
There she is. There she is.
Okay. By the way, the bridge painting was Barbara's from last week. Somebody wanted to know about the bridge painting. That was Barbara's.
I think she might have just left.
Okay, I'm not seeing Lynn. Are you there, Lynn?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Tell us where this is. This is such an interesting painting.
Really?
Yeah.
It was actually, I could have sent you that too. It was I don't know if it's a picture I just saw. I think I was looking at abstract trees or something. I saw this picture, so I painted it. It's like the way, like balance of it and some of the different color acts. And you know, I'm really so new to this whole thing. I'm just sort of still feeling my way through. But you know, it's actually abstract. But I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, it's really interesting. I like that it goes into this kind of abstract texture and like a little bit of like a jazz improv or something up at the top, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also I think the rocky cliffs that they're growing out of is really well done. Does anybody have any comments on this one?
It feels like a Chagall to me.
Yes.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
yes, yes, totally.
That top part, you know, with the colors coming up. Yeah, you see that.
I love
The whimsy and
yeah.
I love the whimsy. I love that pop of blue in that third rock over. I love the leaning of it. I just think it's super fun.
To me, it looks like hope.
Oh, a tree growing out of the rocks.
Yeah.
I definitely.
That position too looks hopeful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just having fun, you know, learning how to blend the watercolors. I mean, it is still so new, and I thought I was just pleased that the tree really looked like a tree. So I'm simple pleasures, but I was pleased.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, Lorinda, I don't know why she thinks this painting isn't any good, but
Oh, it's beautiful.
I really like it, Lorinda.
Beautiful.
Are you hearing that? Are you there?
Yes, yeah, thank you. Yeah, to me, it's unfinished, and there are all these blobs of green. Like when I was painting in between the flowers, I felt like I was painting by number, and then, I don't know, the foreground, the lighter greens don't really pop. And I just got frustrated, and that's where I ended up using my broad Cosmo top brush for the upper background.
Which is nice. That's nice.
Thanks.
Better than the photograph.
Pardon me?
I think what my suggestions as I look at this, Lorinda, I'm wanting to see, you've got these pretty playful patterns kind of dancing around the bottom of the page and then coming up a little bit over here. So you've got these
over where? Oh, I see.
Right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there any way to kind of have this kind of, you know, come up into here a little bit with some of these shapes, like maybe even some leaf shapes blowing in the wind? It feels kind of like a floaty, windy day, like these are kind of being blown around in the wind. And I'd like to see a little bit more movement happening up here. There's kind of a split between this section and the lower section. And that would help kind of unify these elements together.
I was thinking of going back and on the upper section, drawing in some of the, like the sticks and stems that are in the photograph.
Yeah, like I'm looking here, I'm seeing this yellow flower and this leaf and stem and some of these flowers and even this little red thing. And look, these yellows are going all the way up to this upper left-hand corner. Here's this cute little bud. Here's some more leaves popping up out of the flowers. I think this part is complete, the lower part, and you just need, this is just unfinished is all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll keep at it. Thank you.
Okay, good job.
The yellows are really pretty. The yellowy oranges are pretty.
Yeah, it's yummy colors.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. Let's move on to the, oops, to the next one here. Let's get these cleared off. Okay, then we have this tree painting. And whose is this again?
This is me, mate.
Oh, hi, mate. Yeah, do you want to tell us about, is this another loquat tree?
It is a loquat tree in my backyard, and I am struggling with the greenery. Really struggling. I don't know how to do that.
Well, it doesn't look like a struggle to me.
I think it's too, I think it needs more contrast in the greenery.
I would just build up. I think, you've got a couple of layers on here. I think you just need to build up another layer.
Oh.
Just put in some more leaf shapes on top of what you already have. Just build it up a little bit more. Does anybody else have any comments on this one?
When you say build up, do you mean like some of those leaves or just add more leaf shapes?
Add another layer of leaf shapes on top of what she has.
I like all the greens that she has in the leaves. I think maybe if the tree wasn't dead center,
Yeah.
you'd maybe be happier with it. I mean, the tree is beautiful. Maybe if it went off to the one edge.
Yeah, it's a little closer to the edge of the left, so she could pull that out. Also, I think that this lower half of the painting needs to be addressed. You need.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay. What are your plans for down there?
Trying to keep it quiet somehow. I don't know. There is greenery underneath it, but I want to go with a very quiet background. I think, beige, something.
If you could make one side, if you could have this tree go off a little bit over here and then maybe put something else coming off over here or something like a bush or something, I think it would help with that dead center look.
Okay.
Yeah. Another branch on the left, a little.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. Bringing that out. Yeah. Does that make sense, mate?
Yeah, it makes it more alive.
Okay, good.
Natural, yeah, I understand.
Good.
The tree trunk is really great.
Yeah, she did do a nice job on that. I love this one. Isn't this fun?
Wow, that's beautiful.
It's like the magical forest.
Yeah. Who is that?
Wow, this is Chloe.
Oh,
hi everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
Oh, beautiful, Chloe.
It is. It is beautiful.
Wow, it's gorgeous. What a feast for the eyes.
Sparkles.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, you just want to go into that. I want to go into that path and enter that magical realm. And it feels like a Celtic magical forest where you can just go set whatever intention you want and make it manifest immediately.
I was inspired by your magic castle that you posted on Instagram. I was like, I want to do something that has like a sense of magic to it, something a little bit magical. And I stumbled across this picture online that was of I think it's on my phone. It's just some yellow trees and everything. And I was like, I have to paint this. This just feels right.
It feels gorgeous.
It's really, really sweet. I love it. Do you guys remember this? I did this watercolor as a landscape in class last, I don't know, fall or I don't know when it was, but I didn't really like it. I even framed it and put it in the Yes store and it didn't sell. So I'm getting ready to teach a workshop, a Zoom workshop at the end of the month. And I think it's open if anyone wants to take it. It's $25 for 2 hours on Saturday morning and 2 hours on Sunday. offering techniques for adding new life to old paintings. So what I did was I collaged this photograph from a magazine of a castle and put in these sheep, and then I added mixed media to integrate them. But it does remind me of my Celtic roots. That's what I was thinking of. So that's the painting she
Can you
was.
send a link for the class?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so back to this beauty. Also, what I'm picking up on, Chloe, is very much the Klimt effect with these beautiful.
Yes, I was inspired. I usually don't do large landscapes of any sort, so doing this much foliage to me was really different, and I really pushed myself to do this kind of like define like little meadow pieces, and it felt right. I was like, this just feels like the way it needs to be defined in the landscape, and I just kind of like went full gun with it and just went in and just let it happen, and it felt really good to do. It was fun.
Really effective. What size is it?
This is just an 11 by 14.
And how long would you say it took you to complete this?
So I had to do it in stages because it's a lot of different colors.
Right.
I think over, it took me 3 days total, but only like around 2 hours each day until I felt like I was really comfortable with the color and shape and the sizes of everything.
Yeah.
Felt comfortable with it.
So that's a good point too. 2 hours is just about, I'd say between 2 and 4 hours, 3 hours being kind of a good amount.
Okay.
It's just the right amount of time for a painting session. Any more than that, and for me, my nervous system gets a little frayed or something. But I prefer to, paint early in the day when I have good, fresh energy, and just work on it, a few hours one day, a couple of hours the next day. Like just you set aside a portion of time throughout your day and you just consistently work on it till it's done. And so overall, she only has 6 hours into this painting, but it was worth it to do it that way, rather than trying to rush through and complete something in one session. Allow yourself the luxury of putting it aside and coming back to it the next day.
I can't agree more. It's so real, because you don't want to like reflect your tiredness in your color application. Mm-hmm. Or if you were like rushing to finish your line work and it becomes like just you're unhappy with yourself, it's not going to reflect well on the painting. If you're too tired, don't do it.
Yeah. You want to be in your joy while you're doing this, because it will come through in the paintings. Notice how with these, not sure what these flowers,
I have no clue what they are.
but notice how they get lighter and more blurry as they go back. And then she's got a little bit of yellow mixed in, clusters of yellow here and also in here to break it up. And notice how the patterning in the red, it's not all the same. She's got some little tiny flower shapes and then some bigger ones. And even within the flowers, there's, she's got the dark centers and the light pink. And she kind of outlined the trees and then these lovely patterns up here. This is a real winner, Chloe.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. And Chloe, did you outline the purple flowers on the left after they were painted?
So what my technique for this was to outline the space in like a light green. So there's a light green wash under that whole area. Mm-hmm. And then I did like polka dots of a range of like 2 to 3 different reds just to add like depth. And then I made like a ring around it with a little bit lighter pink. And I went back in after once it was dried, and I kind of felt out if an area needed more color, because sometimes it dries and the pigment isn't as powerful. So it's kind of like a lollipop, and then you add like a ring around it.
Yeah.
And a little bit lighter color in it. kind of pops up. Like, I love how like when it dries, it gives you such a variant of different colors, and the depth of color, it just, you can't gauge it sometimes, and that's for the better because it looks more natural, I felt like.
But on the purple side, is it outlined?
She's talking about
the blue, these right here, Chloe. These
oh yeah, my bad. Yes, of course. Sorry, I thought you were talking about like the pinky ones.
No, but thanks for telling us about pink.
Sorry. Yes, those are outlined. I went in with like I think it's a size 0 brush or something like that. Very, very, very fine. And I once I had the blue color in stripes, I went back and I kind of defined the shape according to the picture I had. And that was just kind of like a cotton candy shape, and kind of stretched it. And then some lines in the middle to kind of add definition to the different rows of blooms on each flower. Kind of just played with it, went along.
Has a very fun, dreamlike quality.
Oh, thank you.
It really does. And then did you do a little bit of crayon or something to highlight these trees? I'm seeing some texture. Or is that with a dry brush? Or
it was a dry brush, and I just picked up really little color. I really wanted to get like a sandy, kind of like a grainy texture to try to define it a little bit more.
Nice.
Add a gradient to it.
And then in the trees, the leaves in these trees, they notice how they get a little more faded out going from the bottom to the top. She's got more definition down here with some defined shapes and little brush strokes of orange, and then they gradually get a little looser at the top. It's just beautiful. I love this.
Thank you.
How did you get the sandy kind of texture again? I'm sorry, didn't quite understand.
Just for the record, I think I was using a number 8 brush. So it's about like a pretty manageable size. I like dried my brush like with a paper towel and made sure there wasn't a lot of water in it. And then I picked up a little bit of my mixed brown on the darker side. And I kind of just let the bristles kind of part. You know how like when it's a little too dry, the bristles would come apart. And I kind of like feathered in some color along the sides and like kind of swept it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I can't explain it.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Chloe. Okay, and then here's some white roses. Who's this one from?
Oh, I just sent that. I didn't expect you necessarily to show it, but the reason I took a picture of that, and it doesn't show up that well because I took it through glass indoors, but just people were talking about making white things and adding a little bit of color. And there's a little, my assignment, this was back when I was with Rose Margaret Braden, was to paint white roses on white paper, not using any white paint. And I was like, huh? So the idea of adding a little bit of pink and yellow into your whites, like we talked about with the clouds.
Oh, right. Great.
Hey, Barb, do you want to have your bridge painting critiqued? Did you miss that?
That's okay. Maybe it was shown last time before I was on or something.
Yeah, but we could talk about it.
Sure, if there's time.
You'll
Thank you, sister.
have to resend it to me because I don't have it on my desktop anymore.
Let me see if I have it. Okay, thank you.
I love the background in that one.
Sorry.
And this looks like Molly Pressner's. She just did it. Do you want to tell us about this, Molly? You did your pen and ink.
Yeah, it was a bouquet of flowers, and I tried putting really bright colors in it. Look really bright, but I used this paper, which is very thick. It's a wonderful paper, but it absorbed everything, and it ended up getting lighter and lighter and lighter.
I love this. This is
so then it wasn't as happy as I wanted it to be. So then I added the pen and ink to sort of define the different areas of the sunflowers and the roses, and there were these little round spiky things that I adored that were part of a bouquet that was given to my daughter. So I just wanted to capture it because it was so beautiful. But I would appreciate because I wasn't sure about the background where it was, and I ended up adding blues and greens, and and I feel like it's missing something else, some other, like a brighter purple flower someplace, but I don't want to ruin it by overdoing it. So
I don't, oh, go ahead.
I have a question about the bottom, because you know, the paper's full except the bottom. Maybe something stems or whatever going off the bottom. It gets lighter down there, which
Yeah, I agree, Patricia. I was thinking of like a big dark leaf, maybe coming down here, maybe adding some nice dark, bigger, darker greenery at the bottom, Molly.
okay.
And maybe even, you know, you might want to put a couple coming off the side. I think the only thing that's missing, if anything, is a little bit more greenery.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it's a happy.
I love
I
the
think
uniqueness
the
of the
base.
flowers. They each have their own personality. I really like
Yeah,
that.
they have a lot of character.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Very
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you. No, Simi, did you send me 2 of these?
Yes, the one that said final, which is, I think, the one you have right there.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? The side-by-side is a good example because.
Okay. I don't know if I can squeeze them both on here, but I'll try.
Okay, see, so while we were on the call, I refined that, whatever, the island in the back, because see, it was sort of a
Oh,
flat
yeah.
gray, and from the photo, it was just sort of a uniform color, and you were pointing out your hillside or your mountain with that darker purpley.
Yeah, yeah. See, do you see what a difference that makes?
yes.
They're both beautiful. But
It really pushes it back and gives it more life. When you just use that neutral gray, it's like, blah, put me to sleep, you know?
And so this was the painting from, I think, 2 weeks ago. And again, it's sort of out of the box for me because it's rather uneventful. The colors are just blah. I'm so used to my bright colors that I went over some of the palm tree fronds with washes from my prior painting and added some more color to the greenery at the base of the walkway. I inserted some more shadows.
Yeah, that helped. Is this
where did you take this photo? I mean, where's
right down there by Ledbetter Beach.
Oh, okay.
Right at the beach before you start walking up the hill there.
On the pathway,
yes,
the paved pathway.
Yes, yeah. Oh. And if you look right between those 2 palm trees, you'll see that little sort of mesa in the back there where the trees are.
It's kind of a classic view. I mean, I recognized it right away because I walk down there a lot.
Yeah.
On your little white waves, which are very effective, did you leave them just totally white paper, or did you put a little?
Yes. Yeah, that little white area is plain white paper, and then I just painted in a couple of gray strips there.
I think it's a good job, Simi. I really love your palm fronds.
Okay, good.
How you treated those. Look at all those different colors.
So it's popped up considerably since the first time I shared it.
Yeah, it's really much stronger by adding that stuff into the bottom. And I think this photo, doesn't it actually go down farther? Somehow it got cropped in the photo.
Oh, yes, it does. It goes a little below that. Maybe,
yeah, but I remember this part was pretty weak, and you really, really strengthened it by adding more to that and then doing another layer on the island.
Krista, what would you think about having a little differentiation between the color of the foreground sand and the hillside?
Yeah.
I would like to see a little contrast there somehow, but maybe that's
why
just
don't you put another layer, make this area a little darker here.
Darker. Okay.
It's a little darker to distinguish it. That's a good call, Barbara. I mean, there's a slight distinction because this one has some of the orange in the vegetation, but I would do another layer on this sand. Maybe make it more of a, I don't know, whatever you think.
Okay.
I like the bark on your palm trees too. Yeah, it's a good it's a good, excellent landscape painting. Really good.
It tells a very nice story. It's like you want to go down that path. It's sort of
Definitely. And this is Kurt's peony that he's done more work on. Are you there, Kurt?
Yes, I'm here.
Did you try erasing your grid?
No, I worked on trying to get a better red and darkening the center.
You did a really good job on that. Excellent. But I would like to see that grid gone.
Okay.
You know, once you have the drawing of the flower on, you don't need that grid anymore. And it's pretty important to get rid of it.
Okay.
But much better reds. Did you get another color into your palette, or were you able to mix that with what you had
I
on hand?
got a little braver. I think I'm quite cautious with color because I'm not used to using it.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of putting too much color on because then you can't get it off and then you're in trouble.
So hopefully you learned from this the advantage of being a little brave and kind of pushing out of your comfort zone with the color, right?
Yes, that was very helpful.
Good, good, good. Yeah, I mean, you really have nothing to lose, you know? I think it's better to err on the side of risk taking than caution. But that's how I live my life. So
I think there's a lot of wisdom to that.
yeah, I mean, that's where you get into new territory, is by taking risk. And as I've commented on before with the group, you know, how we show up with our painting in the studio is how we show up in life. And when you can get comfortable in the territory of being in the unknown and exploring unfamiliar ways of doing things, then when life throws you curveballs, like kind of how we've been thrown now, where you're not really in control and you're kind of riding the wave of the unknown, you have a familiarity with being in that place, and it's very helpful. So this is a good, safe place to take risks and to get courageous and to try new things. Because there's really, what do you have to lose? A piece of paper, right?
Yep.
Okay, does anybody else have any more comments on this one? What are you going to do with the background, Kurt?
I don't have a plan. Do you have a suggestion?
Well, what was in, I don't remember what was in the photograph.
The photograph is filled almost entirely with the flower itself, with a couple of green elements, stem leafy type things off on the edge.
Well, why don't you go ahead and put the green stemmy leaf things in, and then maybe you might want to consider just cropping it down like it is in the photo so that the flower takes up the whole page.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You could always do a big map.
A big what?
A big map, yeah.
Do a big what?
Oh, border, yeah.
A big wide mat around it would be pretty.
Okay, here's Barbara's wonderful. Yeah, we looked at this on Monday, Barbara. We really enjoyed this painting. So do you want to tell us about this? Is she there?
She might be muted.
She has to unmute herself.
Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I thought I had done that. It's a bridge in Bobby Burns' garden in Ayrshire, Scotland, that's very special to me because I took my nephew's ashes to that bridge and let them go. And right afterwards, there was a picture of me releasing them, and there was this incredible heavenly light just like pouring down on me when I was releasing it. So it was a very spiritual moment. And it was a little difficult capturing the I tried to get a little bit of the color of the bridge shadow in the water, and there was a lot of like green, weird looking colors in the water. So it's maybe too monotone. What would your suggestion be?
Oh, I don't think it's monotone at all.
Okay.
Do you got, I love, I mean, it's got a nice mix of realism and abstraction, which I find really interesting. I'm very satisfied looking at this painting. What do other people have to say?
I
I
really
like all the colors. The
beautiful.
yellows and
Yeah,
greens are really beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really dreamy. I mean, it's just, you can tell it's a spiritual thing. The only thing I would change is the very corner of that bridge on the right-hand quadrant there. That corner, is, you could just soften that a little bit, because everything is,
This one up here?
yeah, just soften it. Just,
Yeah, I agree.
I can't look anywhere except there, and it's all so dreamy. I think you wouldn't have to change it, just maybe soften it with a little
Yeah,
bit.
just kind of round it out a little bit, or
I felt like there was not enough depth, like showing the depth of the bridge, and so I tried to add like more darker at the top of it. But I see what you mean. It's too pointy there.
Yeah, it's just because
it's the only geometric corner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Sister, you come over and fix it later.
She doesn't know we're sisters, but
I know your sisters.
we're not. We're kind of.
Carissa knows.
Your soul sisters.
Right.
Thank you.
Beautiful, Barbara. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Anybody else?
Well, it has a real feeling to it. So
It does.
can't change that.
And it's very watercolory.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Thanks.
Okay. So, well, that was good. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Is everyone okay and staying peaceful
Marissa, can I
within?
share some that I've done?
Oh, sure, Dolly.
Okay. This is in my backyard. This is where I like to go in the back in the patio and just meditate. I have a lot of Buddhas in the backyard. This is just a couple of them that I did. Can you see that?
Yeah. Nice.
It's just a really nice place. I like to go in the morning, first thing in the morning and in the evening, and just sit and meditate back there. I have quite a bit of Buddhas, but this is just a part of it.
Wonderful. Wow. Yeah, I like you're really good with your strong shapes of flowers and leaves, which is great.
So is there any feedback on this from anyone? That
I
I
love
should
the
do better?
figures. They're great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry, I just muted you, Donna. There was some background noise, so I was muting some people. So if you want to say anything, you'll have to unmute yourselves again. Sorry.
But how are the Buddhas? Should they be more out there?
No, I like that they're kind of a little more subtle and softer, because there's there's a nice contrast between them and the plants. They're not they're not competing. I think I would leave it.
Leave it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love how curly she got the leaves looking.
I know, she really is good at exaggerating
I love leaves.
Yeah, Dolly's really good at exaggerating the shapes to give them character.
I didn't know so. I like oceans, but this one, it's just from my imagination, nothing in particular. So if I can have a feedback.
Wow, look at that nice, deep, dark water. Very nice.
So
really powerful.
I don't know on the stand. I was trying to bring the water up to the stand. I don't know if you can see it on here very well, but
yeah, you did a great job on the water.
It's just I can barely hear you guys. Oops.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Whoops. I
Excellent.
can't hear you at all.
Okay, well,
There.
yeah.
Can you see
Excellent,
that?
Dolly. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything to share? Okay. All right, you guys. Well, so enjoy painting your seascapes. You know, you can either grab an image online, and I do encourage you to try to get a local. I mean, we have the most beautiful ocean right here. And, you know, in the syllabus, I just remembered that I said, you know, ocean with island or land. I do think it's, I mean, Dolly just showed a really good example where you can just do an ocean painting, and hers worked because she really pushed the color and added a lot of interest. But I encourage you also to consider including either some of the islands or part of the land, because it just helps add interest to your ocean painting and gives it kind of a context. And then you can make it a more identifiable spot here. Does that make sense? Okay, so have fun with your ocean paintings, and I'll see you next Monday, and we'll take a look at those for critique. Okay,
Thank you, Carissa. Thank you.
Stay safe and calm and peaceful. Thank you, guys.
See everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.